They say the first thing you lose when you get old is your independence. I'm 78 years old, and I'll tell you right now, that's a lie. The first thing you lose is patience. It started on a Tuesday morning, the kind where the coffee tastes just right and the air outside feels crisp enough to make you believe life still has a few surprises left. I was planning to drive into town to meet my old fishing buddy, Earl, for breakfast. We've been doing that every first Tuesday of the month for 30 years. But when I reached for my car keys, they were gone. Not I misplaced them, gone. No, they were vanished, like someone had deliberately removed them from my usual spot on the counter. Sharon. I called into the kitchen where my daughter-in-law was pretending to be busy unloading the dishwasher. You moved my keys? She didn't even turn around. Oh, you don't need to be driving anymore, Frank. We talked about this. We didn't talk about it, I said. You announced it. Before she could respond, my son Jason walked in, eyes down, avoiding mine. That was the first sign he was in on it. Dad, he started. We just think it's safer. Safer for who? I asked. Because last I checked, my reflexes are still better than yours were the night you backed into the mailbox. Sharon slammed a plate into the cupboard like she was auditioning for a role in a bad soap opera. We don't want to argue. We're doing this because we care. Let me tell you something, when people say they're doing something because they care, 90% of the time it's because they want control. And in that moment, I decided they were going to regret underestimating me. The rest of that morning felt like I was under house arrest. Minus the ankle monitor, though I wouldn't put it past Sharon to order one off Amazon for my safety. I wandered into the living room, and there it was, Jason's pride and joy, sitting in the driveway. A black, cherry gloss 1969 Mustang fastback. Restored, perfect chrome, custom leather interior. He didn't even let the mailman park too close to it. I sat in my recliner, sipping lukewarm coffee, staring out at that car. My fingers twitched like they were already on the steering wheel. You see, Jason's car wasn't just a car. It was his ego on four wheels. He babied that thing more than his own kids. And a thought popped into my head. The kind of thought you can't unthink. If they wanted to take my independence by hiding my keys, well, I could take something from them. That night at dinner, I played the part of the defeated old man. I kept my voice soft, my head down. Sharon loved it. She even patted my hand at one point, like I was some hospice patient. Jason cleared his throat. Dad, we really think you'll be happier letting us drive you places. No more stress. No more. No more freedom? I asked, looking him dead in the eye. He froze, fork halfway to his mouth. Sharon shot him the don't engage look. I smiled. You're probably right, son. Maybe it's time to let go of the driver's seat. They relaxed. They bought it. 2 days later, while Jason was at work and Sharon was busy working from home, which I'm convinced is code for watching reality TV in yoga pants, I went out to the garage. Now, Jason thinks he's clever, hiding his Mustang's keys in a locked tool chest. But here's something he forgot. I gave him that tool chest when he was 17, and I still had the spare key. When the lock clicked open, it was like angels started singing. There they were, the Mustang keys, resting in a little velvet pouch like they were crown jewels. I didn't touch them right away. I just stood there, feeling the weight of the moment. This wasn't just about driving. This was about sending a message. I waited until Friday morning. That's when Jason always left the Mustang in the driveway after his Thursday night car club meet. At 8:15 a.m., Sharon was upstairs on a Zoom call, headset glued to her head. Jason had already left for work in the minivan. I slipped into the garage, key in hand, heart pounding like I was 25 again. When that engine roared to life, oh, the sound. It was like a symphony of rebellion. I didn't just back it out, I peeled out. And for the first time in months, I wasn't just going somewhere. I was leaving. The Mustang didn't just move, it growled. Every shift of the gears made my chest vibrate. I rolled down the window, and the cool morning air slapped me in the face like a wake-up call I didn't know I needed. I wasn't going to waste this. I drove through Main Street slow enough for people to look. And they did. Mrs. Henderson from the bakery waved, her eyes squinting. Frank? Is that you? Still is. I called back, shifting into second. The teenagers hanging outside the gas station stopped mid-slurp of their sodas. One of them whispered, "Is that Jason's car?" I just smiled. Let the rumors start. I pulled into Earl's diner like a king returning from war. Earl stepped outside before I even parked. "What in God's name are you doing in that?" he asked, grinning like a fool. "Taking my life back," I said, shutting the door with a satisfying thunk. Inside, I made sure to park the Mustang right where everyone could see it through the diner windows. Over bacon and eggs, I told Earl the whole story. When I was done, he shook his head. "You're playing with fire, Frank." I grinned. "Good, let 'em burn." Halfway through my second coffee, my phone buzzed. Caller ID Sharon. I let it ring. Then it buzzed again, Jason this time. I finally answered, keeping my voice casual. "Hey son, how's work?" "Dad, where are you?" His voice was tight. "The Mustang is gone." "Oh, I thought you didn't want me driving anymore," I said, sipping my coffee loudly into the phone. "That's different. That's my—" He stopped himself. I could practically hear Sharon in the background, hissing instructions at him. I said, "Relax, I'm just taking her for a spin. She drives like a dream." Jason's voice cracked. "Dad, bring it back. Now." I hung up. Instead of heading home, I took the long way, the really long way. Country roads, no speed cameras, nothing but me, the engine, and the sweet, sweet sound of Jason's blood pressure rising miles away. Then I saw it, the old county fairgrounds. Empty, open, perfect asphalt. Couldn't resist. I took that Mustang in wide circles, letting the tires sing. Was it reckless? Maybe. But in that moment, I felt 30 years younger. Word travels fast in small towns, faster than Wi-Fi. By the time I left the fairgrounds, people were taking videos. Some waved. Couple even clapped. I could only imagine what the comments on Facebook looked like. Probably something like, "Isn't that Jason Miller's car? Looks like Frank's having the time of his life." Perfect. The humiliation wasn't just private anymore, it was going public. By the time I turned onto Maple Drive, I could see them, Jason and Sharon, standing at the end of the driveway like a pair of mall security guards who just spotted a shoplifter. Jason had his arms spread wide. Sharon had her phone out, no doubt recording in case she needed evidence. I slowed down just enough to make them think I was stopping. Then I rolled the Mustang forward another 10 feet, forcing Jason to sidestep like a cartoon character avoiding a steamroller. "Dad, what the hell are you doing?" Jason shouted, his voice cracking in that high-pitched way it does when he's both angry and scared. I killed the engine, stepped out, and shut the door with deliberate calm. "I was driving, son. You remember driving, don't you? Before you decided I was grounded without a trial." Sharon crossed her arms. "You stole his car." I tilted my head. "Oh? And where did my keys go, Sharon?" She blinked, fumbling for an answer. We were keeping you safe." "From what?" "A bad Yelp review from the Grim Reaper." I shot back. It wasn't long before the neighbors started gathering. Mrs. Keating from across the street brought her lawn chair. The Wilson boys had their phones out, recording like they just stumbled onto an episode of Judge Judy, Driveway Edition. Jason kept glancing at them, realizing every second of this was being documented for social media. That was exactly what I wanted. "Dad, you can't just take things that aren't yours," Jason said, his voice lowering. "Funny," I replied, "because you took something that wasn't yours too, my independence." That line got an O from the Wilson boys. Even Mrs. Keating leaned forward like she was about to grab popcorn. I leaned against the Mustang, letting the silence hang just long enough to make them squirm. "Here's the deal," I said. "You give me back my car keys, and I'll give Jason back his precious Mustang keys." Sharon's eyes narrowed. "You're blackmailing us?" I smiled. "No, Sharon. I'm negotiating. Big difference." Jason looked like he was about to protest, but then he glanced at the neighbors filming, the embarrassment burning into him. He finally muttered, "Fine, we'll give you your keys." "Good." I said, tossing the Mustang keys into the air and catching them one last time. Because next time you hide my keys, I might just take her all the way to Florida. Jason sulked into the house and returned with my keys in his hand. When he placed them in my palm, I shook his hand in front of everyone, smiling like we were making a real estate deal. "Pleasure doing business, son," I said loudly enough for the crowd to hear. A couple of neighbors clapped. Someone yelled, "Justice for Frank." And I'll be honest, I felt like a local legend. That night, Sharon barely spoke to me. Jason kept his distance, but my keys stayed exactly where they belonged. And every time I pass the garage and see that Mustang sitting there, I give her a little wink. Not because I plan to take her again, but because I know Jason still worries I might. And that, my friends, is what we call leverage. Before I tell you what happened next, you need to understand something. Driving wasn't just transportation for me. It was my identity. When I was 22, I saved for 2 years working double shifts at the lumber mill to buy my first car, a '57 Chevy Bel Air. She was my pride and joy. I drove her across 5 states, from Michigan to Texas, just because a buddy bet me I couldn't. I met my late wife, Linda, because of that car. She was waiting for a bus in the rain, and I pulled over. She climbed in, soaked to the bone, and said, "This car smells like trouble." She wasn't wrong. So when Jason and Sharon hid my keys, they weren't just keeping me from the grocery store. They were stealing a piece of who I was. By Friday afternoon, the whole town knew. At the barber shop, Earl called me. "Frank, you've made the local Facebook group. They're calling it the Great Mustang Heist." Apparently, the video of me cruising through Main Street in Jason's car had racked up over 800 shares. Comments ranged from, "Frank's still got it. This is how you handle family trying to control you. Sharon's gonna explode." I wasn't sure which I enjoyed more, the ride or the ripple effect. On my detour back toward home, I spotted flashing lights in the rearview mirror. For a split second, my stomach dropped. Had Jason reported the car stolen? The cruiser pulled up alongside me. It was Officer Riley, a kid I taught how to fish back when he was 8. He grinned. "Frank, that's one fine piece of machinery you're in." "Borrowed it from my son," I said casually. He leaned closer. "Borrowed, huh? Because I just heard dispatch mention your name on the scanner." I gave him my best grandpa smile. "Tell them you saw me, and I was driving safely." He paused, then winked. "Drive safe, Frank." And just like that, he pulled away. Sometimes it pays to have history in a small town. 2 days later, I went back to Earl's Diner. This time, I was in my own car, but the parking lot buzzed as people pointed and whispered. Earl slid into the booth with a smirk. "You've become a folk hero, you know. Old-timers are talking about staging a key hiding protest." I laughed. "Just remind them, the best revenge is well-timed and public." If Jason's reaction had been embarrassment, Sharon's was full-on strategic retaliation. She stopped making my morning coffee. She forgot to do my laundry. One night, she even turned off the Wi-Fi router while I was watching my shows. But here's the thing, I didn't care, because my keys were back in their rightful place. And every time she looked at me, I could see the frustration of a woman who'd lost a battle she was certain she'd win. A week later, I caught Jason polishing the Mustang in the driveway. I walked over. "Still mad?" I asked. He shook his head. "More impressed, actually. Didn't think you had the guts." I smiled. "Never underestimate an old man who's been underestimated his whole life." He chuckled. "Fair enough, Dad. Just next time, give me a heads up." I patted the hood of his precious car. "Son, if I give you a heads up, it's not revenge.